We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
China espionage, paychecks being squeezed, a trip to Jupiter, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Beijing is conducting espionage activities on what Western governments say is an unprecedented scale, mobilizing security agencies, private companies, and Chinese civilians in its quest to undermine rival states and bolster the country's economy. Rarely does a week go by without a warning from a Western intelligence agency about the threat that China presents. Last month alone, the Federal Bureau of Investigation said a Chinese state-linked firm hacked 260,000 internet-connected devices, including cameras and routers in the U.S., Britain, France, Romania, and elsewhere. A congressional probe said Chinese cargo cranes used at U.S. seaports had embedded technology that could allow Beijing to secretly control them. The U.S. government alleged that a former top aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul was a Chinese agent. U.S. officials last week launched an effort to understand the consequences of the latest Chinese hack, which compromised systems the federal government uses for court-authorized network wiretapping requests. On Monday, China sent a record 125 aircraft, an aircraft carrier, and ships to surround Taiwan in aggressive military exercises. China announced its actions were a resolute punishment for Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's remarks last week, in which he pledged to resist annexation or encroachment. The economic damage piles up from Hurricanes Helene and Milton. In Helene-devastated Asheville, North Carolina, businesses that rely on visitors are bracing for peak tourist season without any tourists, according to the Washington Post. Buncombe County, home to Asheville, receives nearly $3 billion from tourism each year, with a large chunk of that spending occurring during peak foliage in October. In Florida, citrus farmers who were beginning to see signs of hope for the state's struggling orange industry were dealt a big setback by Hurricane Milton, which destroyed groves right before the key harvest season. During a visit to hard-hit areas of Florida yesterday, President Biden unveiled $612 million in recovery aid. Paychecks are set for a big squeeze next year. Merit raises in 2025 are projected to remain largely flat, with an average bump of 3.3%, according to a new survey of more than 1,100 companies by benefits advisory firm Mercer. Meanwhile, the cost of employer-provided health insurance, which rose 7% in 2024 for a second straight year, is likely to rise again. Companies' total health benefit cost for an employee is expected to increase an average of 5.8% in 2025, according to a separate Mercer survey. Some companies that had been absorbing the higher costs for drugs and doctor visits now say they will have to start passing on those prices to workers in the form of higher deductibles and, in some cases, higher health care premiums, said Beth Unland, Mercer's Director of Research and Health Benefits. Stalling raises and rising health costs matter whether you're looking for a new job or trying to figure out how to ask for more money at your current one. Many workers say it feels tougher than ever to figure out what their take-home pay will be in the coming year. CBS News' 60 Minutes is facing more pressure to release the transcript of Bill Whitaker's interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, which aired on Monday, October 7th. CBS News has been at the center of outrage after it aired an edited clip of Vice President Kamala Harris during its primetime 60 Minutes election special Monday that was different from a preview of the unflattering exchange she had with Whitaker that was widely panned by critics. Barry Weiss, the editor of the Free Press, posted to social media on Saturday and said 60 Minutes should release the unedited transcript of the Kamala Harris interview. The New York Post editorial board also demanded 60 Minutes release the full transcript of the interview. Given how awful Harris looked even after CBS chose to deceive its viewers, this may well be the last serious interview she does before Election Day. The network has a clear duty to the public to share the whole thing, the New York Post editorial said. Senator Lindsey Graham also weighed in on the interview and said that the idea that the interview may have been edited in a favorable way needed to be addressed. Given the stakes here, a rare interview with a presidential candidate a month before a very close election, you would think CBS would do the same. But no transcript has been forthcoming, the Free Press editorial stated. Since those editorials, the Harris campaign has announced they will sit down with Bret Baier of Fox News for another interview. NASA launched a mission to find aliens on one of Jupiter's moons. Scientists believe that Europa, an icy moon orbiting Jupiter, has a water ocean below its surface that could host the conditions necessary for extraterrestrial life. To confirm that's true, NASA used a SpaceX rocket yesterday to launch the $5.2 billion Europa Clipper mission to Jupiter's moon, where by 2031 it will conduct dozens of flybys to scan for the ingredients of life, including organic compounds. The unmanned spacecraft won't actually land on Europa and thus can't determine if there are living organisms there. But if the project confirms scientists' suspicions, the next step could be to send a probe to the surface. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.